Hey there, I got to my shoot a little bit early, and so I just wanted to make a quick little video about the shoots that I'm doing today. I actually have two shoots. The first one's just a little interview for a college, just filming like a past student and just their experiences being a student at the school. The second one is kind of like a nonprofit event raising some money for a child going through cancer, so that'll be fun. They're doing like some painting and stuff for them, so lots of like cool action shots for that shoot. This one, the interview, which is my first shoot for today, I'm filming on a white site. This is a place that I was renting through Peerspace. Peerspace is pretty cool. It's a place where you can rent out like studio spaces and places to film things. My experiences so far have been kind of mixed. I've had some spaces where it's not really like purpose driven for filming. There was like one that was like I got there and it ended up being a co-working space, and just had to work with like people in their offices like talking and stuff, and so it was not ideal for audio type of stuff. So we'll kind of see how this shoot goes. It looks a little bit more like like a typical studio space, so hopefully it is good. But yeah, this should be a pretty straightforward shoot. I will probably just grab a quick shot of the setup just so you can see it. I'm actually going to be shooting it on my GH5S. I have two of those. This is in Atlanta. The space is in Atlanta downtown. I'd seen a post today about half-day rates. And somebody was talking a little bit about how they don't do half-day rates because they never book two shoots in one day. And I actually am starting to find that I can book two shoots in one day. And it tends to be more specific. And it usually is, I will have like an interview shoot that's kind of like a half day where it's like between 9 to 5 type of time frame, and then the second shoot ends up being more of like an event, like evening type of thing. So sometimes I can get two shoots done in one day. It's kind of rare, but it does happen. So I'm not saying maybe be open to doing half-day rates. Just a thought. I do remember somebody saying that things are as like the setup of your gear, transferring the files, that doesn't really change regardless of how many hours you're on set. I think regardless of the number of hours that you're working on a shoot, there's still a lot of time spent charging batteries, setting up your gear beforehand, and all of that. And so I think even when you get a half-day shoot, you should still charge a little bit more than half of your day rate. For example, I think this shoot, typically like an 8-hour shoot, I would charge about $100 an hour. But this is just an interview, and I ended up charging $500 plus whatever the studio space cost. So that's a little bit more than half of my day rate, even though the shoot's actually only 2 hours. So pretty good. But then obviously, you include all the time emailing and setting up the space and, charging and transferring files. Obviously it ends up being a little bit more time than just half of a day. One thing I wanted to talk about is the difference between using Rec 709 versus log picture profiles for client work. For my own work, I always want to shoot in log picture profile because I get a little bit of an extra dynamic range from my video. And I think that makes a huge difference, especially on the GH5S and GH4 that I use. The dynamic range is kind of on the edge there, I think in Rec 709 picture profile, it's probably close to 10 stops of dynamic range versus like 12 with the log picture profile. So it's a pretty big difference. But I'm starting to notice that a lot of people that I send footage to kind of just don't know enough about what to do with log picture profiles, which I kind of always find really interesting that there's editors out there that don't understand picture profiles. But so I end up using just like natural picture profile on my Lumix GH5S, and I find that I get less comments about that. I used to send log files, and then I would also send a conversion LUT with it, just so that people would have that LUT, which is just the standard Panasonic LUT of Vlog to Rec 709. But even still, some clients were complaining about it, and so I'm starting to just use natural picture profile for most things. And I think the image, if you look right now, I'm shooting with natural because I'm going to film this shoot with natural picture profile. But you can see out the window, obviously it's super overexposed in order to get a good exposure on me. But I guess with some shoots, it's kind of more about speed than overall quality, and especially with a lot of outsourcing for editors of some of these bigger companies, or sometimes at corporations. Somebody who's not necessarily an expert at video editing ends up just getting tossed the role of editing the video, which is kind of unfortunate. It also makes it a little bit of a struggle for me because I shoot a lot of stuff in 60 frames per second, and with the expectation that the editor's going to slow it down so that way it's a little bit more stable. But I've definitely seen a couple of my edits of things that I've shot where the editor edited in, and they did it in real time, and it was just a little bit more shaky than I would have wished, or they picked a spot of the clip that's a little bit more shaky than I wished, and it's just unfortunate. So some of the things you just need to think about when you're doing shooting for other people is like, hey, I need to make sure that my stuff is more stable than even when I'm shooting for something that I'm editing, because who knows what part of the clip the editor's going to pick to edit into the video. And just picture profiles are always a kind of nuisance, but I would have rather shot things all in Vlog. Anyways, just some of my rants about shooting stuff for clients.